Okay, let's just dive right in. It's February.
It is.
And I think if we're being really honest, for a lot of guys, the second that calendar flips from January 31st to February 1st, something happens.
Oh, yeah.
The blood pressure just starts to, creep up a little bit. You walk into the grocery store just to buy, I don't know, a gallon of milk, and you are immediately assaulted by this wall of pink and red.
The Valentine's Industrial Complex,
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
It's totally real. It's the chocolate hearts, the ridiculously oversized teddy bears that nobody actually wants or has space for.
Right? Where do you even put that?
You don't. And the jewelry commercials, my gosh, they seem to be on this continuous loop during every single time out of every single basketball game. There's this massive, tangible, cultural weight that just settles on men specifically right about now.
It's the pressure of performance.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the simple act of buying a gift. It's about the whole implication of the season.
Right. It's the pressure to be ready, to have the plan, to have the reservation at that one strip house that's been booked solid for 3 months, to have the ring, or, at the very least, to have the relationship status to post online.
Right. The hard launch.
The hard launch, exactly. And if you're a single guy, or maybe you're a guy who is sort of in between seasons in life, trying to figure out your career or your calling, February can feel like a giant, unflattering spotlight just pointing out everything you don't have.
It makes you feel like you're behind.
So far behind, like you're late to the party and everyone else is already coupled up and slow dancing.
And, that feeling of being behind it's incredibly dangerous. We have to talk about the psychology of that.
Oh, so?
Because what happens when we feel like we're late for something important? We rush.
You speed up?
You speed up. You cut corners. You try to force outcomes that aren't ready to happen. And in the context of relationships, rushing is almost always the direct precursor to disaster.
Yeah.
We see this cultural push for speed everywhere, this obsession with rushing into love, getting the Instagram post up, hitting the milestones. But we rarely, if ever, talk about the actual infrastructure needed to sustain that love once you catch it.
That is such a fantastic analogy. It's like rushing to buy a Ferrari when you live on a dirt road that's just full of potholes and you haven't even bothered to pave a driveway yet.
You're going to wreck the car.
You're going to wreck the suspension in a week. It's not built for that terrain.
Or worse, you won't even know how to drive it properly. You'll just sit in the driveway revving the engine, making a lot of noise, but going nowhere.
Exactly. And that right there is why I'm really, really excited about the stack of sources we're diving into today. It feels different. It feels like an antidote.
It does.
We're looking at a community and a philosophy called Lesson in Everyday, which was founded by LaToya Jackson. But we're not just, doing a broad overview. We are drilling down specifically into the resources she has built for men.
For men in this exact season.
Yes. We're talking about building a solid foundation, finding a real community, and navigating that very difficult season of waiting without completely losing your mind.
And I think it's really important we clarify the mission here right off the bat.
Please do.
This deep dive we're doing, it's not a pickup artist seminar. We're not going to be looking at sources that teach you, 3 psychological tricks to get a date by Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank goodness the internet has more than enough of that trash.
It's about the exact opposite of that. The sources are all about becoming. It's about the internal engineering, the architectural work required to be the kind of man who can actually lead a family and love a wife God's way when that time finally comes.
It's a fundamental shift in focus.
A total shift, away from getting the girl and toward becoming the man.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture then. What exactly is Lesson in Everyday? Because the name itself implies something slower. It definitely doesn't sound like Lesson in Overnight Success.
It does imply slowness, and that's completely by design. The sources we have describe Lesson in Everyday as a faith-centered wellness community. But the core definition that really stood out to me and what makes it so relevant for our listeners today is that it's a space to slow down, reflect, and realign with God.
Slow down, reflect, and realign. That's a direct counter-narrative to the rush we were just talking about.
Completely. And it's designed for individuals, for professionals, and specifically for singles who want a real faith, but without that crushing, suffocating pressure of perfection.
Faith without perfection. I really like that. Because usually when you hear faith and dating in the same sentence, it feels like you have to be some kind of monk or a perfect saint. It can feel like if you've made any mistakes in your past, well, you're disqualified from the game. Pack it up.
Exactly. And the central philosophy they use to achieve this realignment is a concept they call one word at a time.
Okay, talk to me about that, because we live in a world of 1,000 words a minute. I mean, my social media feed is moving way faster than my brain can possibly process.
This is the antidote to all that noise.
Yeah.
The source material explains that living by one word at a time means choosing a single daily or maybe seasonal focus to guide your heart.
Just one.
Just one. It isn't about checking off a massive, overwhelming to-do list or trying to strive for some impossible standard of spiritual productivity. It's about, and I'm quoting directly here because this is key, presence, obedience, and a willingness to listen.
Wow. That's good. So instead of trying to fix your entire life before you've even had breakfast, fix your finances, fix your body, fix your spirit all at once, you just pick one word. So today might be patience, and you just focus on that. Maybe tomorrow is discipline. And you let that single word shape how you respond to everything the world throws at you that day.
Precisely. It turns the entire day from a frantic scramble into a simple invitation to just pause and ask God, what do you want from me right now in this moment?
Yeah.
Rather than constantly asking, what do I want?
It's a pivot.
It's a huge pivot from urgency to alignment. And that pivot is absolutely crucial for the specific resource we're really going to be analyzing today. The Love, Alignment, and Becoming, Men's Devotional, and its companion community, Faithfully Waiting.
Let's get into that devotional, because this isn't some generic pamphlet you just pick up in the lobby of a church building. This is specifically the men's edition for February. And it opens with this letter to men that, honestly, I think every single guy needs to hear, whether he's deeply religious or just starting to even ask these questions.
It is a really powerful piece of writing. The context here is, as we've said, February, that pressure cooker month. And the letter, it just comes right out and explicitly states, this is not about rushing into love or proving readiness. It's about becoming grounded, healed, and aligned.
That phrase, proving readiness, man, that just hits home so hard. I feel like so much of modern masculinity is performative.
It is.
We're constantly trying to prove we're ready for the next step. We're trying to prove we're strong enough to carry the load. We try to prove we're financially successful enough. It's like we're constantly auditioning for our own lives.
A performance for an unseen audience.
Yes. And this letter just cuts the legs out from under that entire mindset. It says, stop proving, start becoming.
And there's a massive fundamental difference between those two things.
Yeah.
Proving is all about the audience. It's external. Becoming is about the architecture. It's internal.
Architecture, I like that.
And there's a specific line in this letter. It's about healing that I think completely redefines the game for men. The author writes, healing doesn't mean I'm weak. It means I'm responsible.
Ooh, that is heavy. Can you say that again for the guys in the back?
Healing doesn't mean I'm weak. It means I'm responsible.
See, that just completely flips the script. The usual narrative guys hear or tell themselves is, if I have to go to therapy, or if I have to really pray about my past, or, deal with my emotional baggage, that means I'm broken.
Right. I'm defective.
I'm a beta. I'm not the alpha male leader I'm supposed to be. But this is saying, no. Dealing with your junk is the most responsible, most manly thing you can possibly do.
Think about it structurally, like you're an engineer. If you're a civil engineer building a massive skyscraper and you discover a crack in the foundation, is it weak to stop construction and fix that crack?
No, of course not. It's essential. It's the only responsible thing to do.
Exactly. Now, is it tough to just ignore that crack and keep building 50 stories of steel and glass on top of it? No, that's not tough. It's negligent.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably dangerous.
It's a total disaster just waiting to happen. The whole thing will come down eventually.
Reframing healing as responsibility is absolutely vital for men. Because if you enter a relationship, if you try to become a partner, a husband, without addressing those foundational cracks, you are bringing structural instability into that partnership.
Yeah.
You're essentially handing your unhealed wounds to someone else, your wife, your future children, and asking them to carry the weight of your broken foundation. That isn't leadership. That is abdication of your primary responsibility.
That is such a convicting thought. Leadership isn't just about, giving orders or making decisions. It's about making sure the platform you're standing on is solid enough to hold the people you're asking to stand there with you.
Precisely.
Oh.
And that brings us to the stated goal of this whole devotional. It says the goal is clarity without pressure, growth without performance.
Growth without performance. I feel like that should be tattooed on the inside of every guy's eyelids.
Right?
It's the difference between going to the gym because you actually want to be strong and functional for your life versus going to the gym just to take a selfie in the mirror so people on Instagram think you're strong.
One is about vanity. The other is about vitality. This devotional is squarely focused on building the actual muscle of character, not just the appearance of it.
Which is a perfect transition into this next section, titled From Singleness to Husbandship. Now, this is where the rubber really meets the road. This isn't just about waiting in some passive, lazy sense. This is about active training.
And the central thesis here, the core argument, is that leadership starts internally.
Internally, not externally.
The source argues that before a partnership can even be a serious consideration, there are specific internal blocks that have to be built. You cannot lead a family if you cannot first lead yourself.
It seems so obvious, but we miss it all the time.
We do. If you're a slave to your impulses, a slave to your anger, or a slave to your fear, you are absolutely not ready to lead a home. You're just a danger to it.
And they break this down into what they call the 5 pillars of preparation. I really want to go through these one by one because they're so practical. They aren't fluffy or vague.
Let's do it.
Pillar number 1, emotional maturity.
Okay, so this goes right back to that concept of healing we just discussed.
Mhm.
Emotional maturity is the ability to handle your own internal state. It's not about suppressing emotion. That's the old toxic model of real men don't feel anything.
Right, the Clint Eastwood model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is about recognizing your emotions, understanding where they come from, and then not letting them hijack the car and drive it off a cliff.
So it's the difference between feeling angry and, say, punching a wall.
That's a perfect example. Can you feel anger without sinning? Can you feel disappointment without spiraling into despair? Can you feel insecure without taking it out on your partner and making it their fault? Emotional maturity means you have a dashboard for your feelings. You can see the warning lights come on, and you, the driver, are the one behind the wheel, not the feelings themselves.
Right, it's not boys don't cry, it's more like grown men don't throw tantrums when they don't get their way.
Correct. Okay, pillar number 2, spiritual discipline.
Consistency, that's the word that jumps out at me here.
Consistency is the absolute key word. This isn't about the emotional high of a mountaintop experience. It's not about how loud you can shout amen at a big conference.
No.
It's about the quiet, unglamorous daily grind. Can you show up for your faith on a random Tuesday morning when you're tired, you're running late for work, and you really just want to hit the snooze button for the 5th time?
That's where the real work is done.
That is discipline. And in a marriage, that kind of spiritual discipline translates directly into reliability and trustworthiness. Your family knows you'll show up no matter what.
Okay, pillar number 3, this one's a little scary. Integrity in private.
This is the big one. This is the one that separates the men from the boys. Who are you when nobody else is watching?
Yeah.
Who are you when the phone is in your hand and the door to your room is locked? Who are you when you're on a business trip in a city where nobody knows your name? If your public persona is this man of God, but your private life is chaotic or compromised, you are building on sand. You're a hypocrite. Husbandship requires that your private self and your public self are the same person.
That integration is so key. You can't be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and ever expect to have a healthy, trusting marriage.
You can't, because eventually, the private self, the Mr. Hyde, always comes out. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, pillar number 4, communication under pressure.
This one is just massive for relationships. Anyone, and I mean anyone, can communicate well when things are going great.
Easy. Hey, baby, love you. Dinner was fantastic.
No problem. But how does a man respond when things get hard? When the pressure is on, when the money gets tight, when the car breaks down on the side of the highway, when there's a serious disagreement about the in-laws?
Those are the pressure cooker moments, the moments that reveal character.
Does he shut down completely? Does he give the silent treatment for 3 days? Does he explode and get aggressive or sarcastic? The source argues that preparing for husbandship means learning to communicate through the pressure, not avoiding it or just amplifying it.
So it's about being able to say, okay, I'm really stressed out right now, but we are a team and we are going to solve this, rather than just checking out and leaving her to handle it alone.
That's it, exactly. And the last one, pillar number 5, accountability without defensiveness.
The ability to be corrected.
This might be the clearest mark of true humility and strength. When someone points out a blind spot, and trust me, a spouse is a giant high-definition mirror that will show you all of your blind spots.
All of them.
When that happens, do you get angry and attack the mirror? Do you get defensive and make excuses? Or do you have the strength to listen and say, you might be right, let me think about that? A leader who cannot be corrected is just a tyrant in the making.
That connects so perfectly to the key takeaway from this entire section, which is a quote, "A man prepared by God leads with humility, not control."
And that distinction is everything. Humility versus control. So many men mistakenly think that being the head of the household means being in control.
Right. It means I say you do, my way or the highway.
It means dominating the environment, making all the unilateral decisions. But this source is arguing that true biblical leadership, the kind of leadership that actually makes a woman feel safe and cherished, is rooted in humility.
So it's a man who's ready to receive wisdom, who's ready to serve his family, not just command them.
He leads by going first into the danger, not by pushing everyone else from the safety of the back.
So we have the theory. We have these 5 pillars. Now let's talk about the execution. The devotional is structured as a 28-day grind. I like that word, grind.
It's a good word for this. And they're quick to emphasize that it is a discipline tool, not a demand. Again, you can see them constantly trying to remove that pressure of perfection.
So if you miss a day, you don't just quit and throw the whole book away.
No, you just get back up and keep going the next day. It's about progress, not perfection.
And it uses that one-word concept we talked about earlier, 1 word per day. Let's really deep dive into a few of these days because the specific words they chose, they tell a story about what kind of man they are trying to help build here.
Absolutely. Let's start at the beginning. Day 1. The word is foundation.
And the scripture is Matthew 7:24. The wise man builds his house on the rock, the foolish man on the sand.
The question posed to the reader is so simple, but it's also devastatingly profound. It's just, what am I building my life on?
Wow.
The implication there is all about endurance. You cannot build a family, a legacy on a cracked foundation. If your foundation is your job, well, that can vanish in a single layoff.
For sure.
If it's your looks or your athletic ability, those will fade with age or injury. If it's your bank account, that fluctuates with the market every single day. The source is asking men to do a serious structural check of their bedrock before they even start thinking about framing the walls of a relationship.
It's asking, if a storm came and stripped everything else away from you, what would you be left standing on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the scripture is very clear. The storms will come. It's not a question of if the rain comes, it's a question of when.
Then we jump right to day 2, discipline. The scripture for this one is Hebrews 12:11:1. Discipline shapes destiny.
See, there's a recurring theme here of agency, of personal responsibility. You are not just a helpless victim of your circumstances. You have the power to shape your own destiny through the small daily choices of discipline.
Right.
For men, this often translates to the physical and the spiritual. It's the grind we talked about. But it's a grind with a very specific purpose. You're training for the marathon of marriage and fatherhood. You discipline your body, your mind, and your spirit now so that you have the stamina required for what's coming later.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, let's look at day 9, healing. We touched on this earlier, but the scripture here is Psalm 147.3, and the phrase they pull out is, unhealed wounds shape reactions.
That phrase right there is vital. I want everyone to hear that again. Unhealed wounds shape reactions. Let's break that down practically.
Please.
If you have a deep wound of rejection from your father, or a wound of betrayal from an ex-girlfriend, and you don't do the hard work to heal it, you will inevitably react to your future wife through the distorted lens of that old wound.
It's projection, right? You're not seeing her for who she is.
You're not. You're seeing the ghost of the person who hurt you. So she might say something totally innocent, like, hey, did you remember to take out the trash? But because you have an unhealed wound about being controlled or criticized, you don't hear a question about trash. You hear, you're lazy and incompetent and you never do anything right, and you explode.
And she's just standing there completely confused, probably still holding the trash bag.
Right, because you aren't reacting to her in that moment. You're reacting to the ghost of your past. This day in the devotional challenges men to do the painful but necessary surgical work of healing so they don't bleed on people who didn't cut them.
That is so real. Man. Okay, let's jump to day 16, emotional intelligence. The scripture is Proverbs 16.32, and the key thought is strength includes emotional control.
This directly counters the cultural narrative that emotions are somehow for women and that real men are just stoic rocks. The source says, no, true strength is control over your emotions. Being stoic isn't the goal. Being governed is the goal. A man who is a slave to his anger or his lust or his insecurity is actually weak, no matter how much he can bench press.
Right.
Emotional intelligence is the realization that you have feelings, but your feelings don't have you. You're in the driver's seat.
It's about possessing your own vessel, your own spirit.
Exactly. And let's hit one more. Day 22, preparation. The scripture is Luke 14.28, about counting the cost before you build a tower. The phrase is, preparation honors responsibility.
This one is my favorite, I think, because it absolutely destroys the idea of passive waiting.
Waiting is active. That is the entire point. The source says that waiting isn't just sitting on the couch playing video games until God rings your doorbell with a wife.
Huh.
Waiting is preparation. It's the active process of getting your finances in order. It's getting your living situation in order. It's getting your spirit in order. It honors the very responsibility you're asking God to give you.
So you're asking God for a wife and a family? Okay, are you preparing the house for them?
Exactly. If she showed up today, this very afternoon, would there actually be space for her in your life? Or is your life so cluttered with your own stuff, your own habits, your own schedule that she wouldn't even fit?
Wow, that's a challenging question. And honestly, reading through all 28 of these days, it can get heavy. It's a lot of deep self-reflection. But I really appreciate that the source material also injects what they call light moments.
Yes, the humor factor.
Yeah,
It's absolutely necessary to keep it grounded and relatable. Men often bond and learn through humor.
it's true. I laughed out loud at this one quote. God said, wait, so I lifted and prayed.
It's so simple, but it's so true. For a lot of guys, physical strengthening and spiritual strengthening go hand in hand. It's a healthy way to channel all that pent-up energy and frustration. You can't just sit still. You've got to go move some heavy weight.
And then there's this one. Growth looks like choosing peace over ego.
That one's funny because it's also painful. We all know that moment in an argument where you have the perfect zinger, you have the verbal knockout punch ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
You can destroy the other person with your words.
Oh, yeah.
Or you want to flash the cash or flex your accomplishments. But choosing peace, swallowing your pride, that is the actual flex. It takes far more strength to hold your tongue than it does to loose it.
So we've got the blueprint here. We've got the 28-day challenge for the internal work. But here's the problem most men face, myself included, doing it all alone. You can read a book by yourself, but real lasting transformation almost always happens in community. Iron sharpens iron, right?
Exactly. Which brings us to the second part of our deep dive, the faithfully waiting community model that goes along with this devotional.
Now, I have to stress this because the source material stresses it in giant, bold letters. This is not a matchmaking service.
It cannot be overstated. We have to be crystal clear on this. If you join this community looking for a catalog of eligible singles to swipe through, you are in the wrong place.
It's not Christian Tinder.
Not even close. The source is explicit.
Uh,
It is not pressure-driven. It is not about setting you up on dates.
Why is that distinction so fundamentally important?
Because the moment you introduce that meat market dynamic, as you called it, authenticity dies. It just evaporates. If you think the person on the other end of that Zoom call is a potential date, you immediately start posturing. You start performing again. You puff out your chest. You hide your weaknesses. You only show your highlight reel.
It's the same performance we were just talking about.
Exactly. By taking dating completely off the table, they create a safe space where men and women can actually be honest about their struggles and their journey.
So if it's not a dating service, what is it? What's the official definition?
It's defined as a supportive community focused on encouragement, prayer, accountability, and spiritual growth while waiting. The target audience is very specific. Singles who are intentionally trying to wait for their helpmate God's way.
That phrase, God's way, implies a clear distinction from the world's way.
A huge distinction. The world's way is dating apps. It's ghosting people. It's confusing talking stages. It's hooking up. And it's treating other human beings like commodities in a marketplace.
Right.
This community offers a radical alternative. Brotherhood and sisterhood without the constant underlying sexual marketplace pressure. It's about being known, not being sold.
Let's talk about the mechanics of it. How does this actually work in practice? Because a lot of guys are, deeply skeptical of groups. We envision awkward icebreakers and being forced to hold hands and sing Kumbaya.
And this structure seems designed to avoid all of that.
Yep.
It's actually very practical and, I think, very respectful of men's time, which I find interesting. They utilize something called the faithfully waiting single Zoom call. But the format is what's key.
Yeah. It's short. I noticed that immediately.
Intentionally so. Just 30 minutes. The source emphasizes, we truly will not take more than 30 minutes of your day.
That is a major selling point for any busy guy. Get in, get focused, and get out. No fluff.
Exactly. It's framed as a check-in. It's not a deep therapy session. It's, how are you doing this week? Whether you're feeling strong, uncertain, hopeful, or just simply tired, it's a status report.
Like a team huddle.
It's exactly like a team huddle. Then they watch a short faith-centered video together, which ensures everyone is actually engaging with the devotional book and staying on the same page.
It's not a 3-hour seminar where you're just staring at the clock waiting for it to be over. It's a locker room check-in before you have to go back out onto the field for another week.
And that is precisely why it's effective for men. It builds that necessary brotherhood and accountability without the inherent awkwardness of a singles mixer. You're not there to impress anyone. You are there to focus on the vertical relationship, your relationship with God, so that you can eventually be ready for the horizontal one with a spouse.
There is so much psychology behind this concept of the wait. The source material does a really great job of rebranding what waiting actually means.
They do. They create this sharp contrast between worldly waiting and godly waiting.
Okay, break that down.
Worldly waiting feels like you're falling behind. It feels like you've been forgotten or you're being punished. It's that deep anxiety we talked about in the intro. Everyone else is getting married and having kids, and I'm just standing here like a loser.
The fear of missing out, the FOMO is so real.
The FOMO is crippling. But godly waiting, as defined by this source, is sacred preparation. It is forward movement. It is, and this is the key phrase, obedience over urgency.
Obedience over urgency. That is a tough one to swallow. Because urgency screams at you. Urgency says, I'm lonely tonight. Urgency says, I'm 35, my biological clock is ticking, I need to have kids right now.
Obedience just whispers, trust me. Build the foundation first. I know the timing.
That's a battle.
It is. They have a video concept in the community called Trust Over Timelines. And there's a line in the script for that video that is just brilliant in its simplicity. It says, Google can't answer, when will I meet my person?
Huh. I am positive that people have tried to search it, though. Siri, when am I going to get married?
We all have, in our own way. We crave certainty. We want a date circled on the calendar so we can relax. But the source says, peace is proof you trust God more than the process.
Whoa. So that's the metric. The proof isn't the outcome. The proof is your internal state. Do you have peace?
That's the question.
If you are anxious, if you're frantic, if you're swiping right on every single person on a dating app just to get a little hit of dopamine, you aren't trusting God. You're trusting your own hustle. You're trying to force the door open that he hasn't opened yet.
And they cite Philippians 4.6, do not be anxious about anything. This community seems to exist, in part, to stop that waiting from turning into worrying.
Because when you're alone, it's so easy to worry.
It is. Your thoughts just spiral. But when you were in a community of other men who are also waiting, also doing the grind, also preparing, the worry starts to subside. You realize you're not a weirdo.
Yeah.
You're not alone. You're just in training. You're in boot camp with your brothers.
Okay, so we've got the devotional for the internal work. We've got the community for the external support. Now I want to turn the mirror on you, the person listening right now, because Lesson in Everyday provides a men's self-reflection page. And the questions on this page are, well, they're definitely not softballs.
No, they're diagnostic tools. They're designed to expose the cracks in the foundation that you might not even know are there.
Let's hit a few of them. I want to just read the question and let's discuss it. Question 1, am I emotionally available or just present?
Wow. That is the difference between having a body in the room and having a heart in the room.
Explain that more.
A lot of men think, hey, I showed up, I'm sitting here on the couch, I'm eating the dinner you made, therefore I am being a good partner. But are you actually accessible? Can a woman reach your heart? Or is there a giant wall up with armed guards on it?
Right.
Being physically present is easy. Being emotionally available, being truly vulnerable, is terrifying for most men. But it's non-negotiable for real intimacy.
Okay, question 2. What patterns am I actively breaking?
The key word there is actively. Not passively hoping they'll go away.
Yeah.
Actively breaking. We all have generational patterns. Maybe your dad was emotionally distant. Maybe he was quick to anger. Maybe the men in your family have a history of running away when things get hard. If you are not actively working to break those patterns, then you are passively doomed to repeat them.
You're just running the same faulty software your father installed in you?
That's a perfect way to put it. You have to be the one to uninstall the malware.
Question 3. How do I respond when challenged?
This goes right back to the ego and to that fifth pillar of accountability. When someone challenges your idea or your behavior or your opinion, do you crumble? Do you attack them personally? Or do you have the internal strength to stand firm but remain open to their perspective?
And the connection here, the rib connection, as we might call it, finding your helpmeet, is that you cannot find the right person if you don't first recognize your own patterns and your own
You
brokenness.
can't. It's impossible. The source implies that answering these hard questions is the absolute prerequisite to finding a helpmeet. If you don't know who you really are, with all your flaws and strengths, you won't recognize the person who actually fits you.
You'll just choose based on surface level traits.
Exactly. She's hot, she's fun, she likes the same sports team, and you'll ignore the massive flashing warning signs of deep spiritual and emotional misalignment.
We are living in such a rushed world. Everything is instant. Amazon Prime, fast food, instant streaming. Lesson in Every Day seems to be fighting this massive countercultural war against speed.
They absolutely are, and they're running what they call a nurture campaign to do it. We can see this in the SMS and email sources we have. It's a constant, gentle drip feed of reminders.
Little messages like, you are not behind and God's timing is intentional.
It's essentially reprogramming your brain. The world tells you you're late 500 times a day through ads and social media. It tells you you're missing out. This community comes along and tells you, no, you're right on time 5 times a day.
Yeah.
It's essential for your mental and spiritual health.
And it constantly reiterates that core value we mentioned at the top. Spiritual growth doesn't require perfection-only presence. You don't have to be perfect to join this Zoom call. You don't have to have it all figured out to pick up the devotional. You just have to show up.
The invitation isn't this massive, scary thing like, go find a wife by tomorrow. The invitation is small. It's subscribe, join the Zoom for 30 minutes, sit with one word for today. It's these small, manageable steps of obedience that lead to transformation.
So let's try to bring this all together. What does this all mean for the guy who's listening right now, the guy who is feeling that February pressure mounting?
I think it means, first and foremost, that you have permission to stop rushing. It means that feeling of frantic pressure is a lie from the enemy. And the truth is that you are being invited into a construction zone. You are being called to build a solid foundation first.
So this season of waiting isn't a penalty box. You haven't done anything wrong.
No, it's not a penalty box at all. This season of waiting is an active period of husbandship training. It's your boot camp. It is the specific time God has set aside for you to build integrity, to learn discipline, and to pursue healing.
Because once the relationship starts, the time for foundation work is over.
It's over. The concrete has to be poured and set before you start building the walls and the roof. You can't be trying to pour concrete in the basement while you're simultaneously trying to build the third story. The whole thing will collapse.
And you can't do it alone. The community provides the accountability you need to stay the course when the world and that calendar on the wall is screaming at you that you should be panicking.
Let's revisit that quote we both loved, because it sums it all up. A man prepared by God leads with humility, not control. The best way to look for a helpmeet is to stop looking outward so frantically and start building inward so intentionally.
I think that's the message. Stop hunting and start building.
That's it.
Before we sign off, I just want to leave everyone with one final thought to chew on. We looked at day 27 in the devotional, and the word for that day is expectancy.
Right. The idea that God is still working even when you can't see it.
So here is the question I want you to walk away with, and maybe just mull it over while you're at the gym or on your drive home. If you truly believe that God is writing the story of your life, and you are currently in a chapter called Waiting, what specific character trait is he trying to write into you right now that will be absolutely essential for the marriage you are praying for?
That's the question. Is it patience? Is it humility? Is it self-control?
Are you skipping the lesson because you're in such a hurry to get to the reward? Because the scary thing is, if you skip the lesson, the reward you're asking for might actually crush you.
Don't skip the lesson. Embrace the training.
Thanks for diving in with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Stay anchored.